discussion on perspective of developers. While the dais is being set, I will introduce all the speakers for the next session one by one. I'll start with Mr. Gerd J. Lemers, co-founder and executive director, Lili Navitas. I already introduced him, but for people who don't know him, I'll introduce him again. He comes with 15 years of experience in the renewable energy sector, including 5 years in the green hydrogen sector. He has evaluated over 200 green hydrogen projects worldwide. Then we have Mr. Kishor Nair, who is Chief Executive Officer, IPP Business at Avaada Group. He has 4 decades of experience in the energy sector across business development, project management, and strategic planning for both domestic and international energy projects. He's among the founding members of Avaada and has significantly contributed to the development of renewable energy sector in India. Has executed some of the world's largest solar projects, and under his guidance, Avaada became the first company in India with an operational capacity of 1 gigawatt of solar projects back in 2016. His expertise has been instrumental in driving policy advocacy and raising industry concerns with various state governments and central government. Prior to Avaada, he executed large infrastructure projects with companies like NTPC, Bechtel, Reliance, and Welspun. Then we have Mr. Hare Panday, former Director Projects BSPTCL and Principal Consultant at SJVN Green Energy. He has over 41 years of experience in the power sector. His areas of expertise include project conceptualization, planning, tendering, and implementation. He's working as Principal Consultant of SJVN Green Energy. Started his career at CIL and later joined Bihar State Electricity Board in 1984. Has contributed to planning, tendering, and equipment procurement in various roles and functions. Has also been responsible for identification, tendering, and EPC contracts for grid substation and transmission lines. Under his leadership, BSPTCL has received A+ ranking and PFC certification for rapid and quality growth of power. He's an electrical engineer from Bangalore University and is also an MIE, FIE, and chartered engineer. Then we have Mr. Hiren Mehta, who is Chief Commercial Officer at ACME Group. He has 22 years of experience in national and international marketing, business development, strategic planning, policy advocacy, and risk management. Is responsible for promoting energy transition from fossil fuels to renewable fuels, working with various stakeholders to quicken the pace of energy transition, negotiating and executing long-term offtake agreements, and innovating on techno-commercial solutions to make renewable fuels affordable. He has previously worked in the LNG industry with H Energy and BG Group. In the LNG industry, he has overseen various senior management positions. He has immensely contributed to the growth of natural gas in India. He holds a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering and an MBA in marketing from University of Pune. Finally, we have with us Mr. Sinha, Vice President, New Energy Business at Greenko Group. He has always been a regular feature at our green hydrogen conferences, and very happy to invite him here again. He has over 20 years of experience in leadership positions across India, the Middle East, and the US in various areas including sales and commercial, strategy, operations, planning, and HR. Currently, as a Vice President at Greenko, he's looking after BD, commercial strategy, planning, and development of the green molecule business. He holds an MBA from IIM Ahmedabad and a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from BITS Pilani. Great. Please, I would like to invite all the speakers on the dais, please. Oh, is it? Oh, okay, I'll just... I've asked them. Great. We have a very expert level panel discussion here. I'm going to begin from Mr. Sinha and go one by one to each of the panelists. Mr. Sinha, starting from you, if you can just give us a brief about some of the recent green hydrogen projects at Greenko.
Okay. Thank you, Khushbu, and thanks also for the very nice introduction. Always a pleasure to be here, and thanks again for inviting me. Would love to share my thoughts here. So as a part of Greenko Group, of course, I look after the BD and commercials for the green molecules business, which means green hydrogen and green ammonia, at least as of now. That's the primary area of focus that my team and I are engaged with, and that's what the Greenko Group is doing as well. Now, our primary focus is green ammonia, of course, And in that, we have a plan of 4 million tons of green ammonia to be produced, all the plants to be commissioned over the next 5 years. The backbone of that would be through the round-the-clock RE power that we can get at a rather cheap rate from our pumped hydro storage projects. So that will enable, I can probably say the word here, a $3 hydrogen today, and that enables progression into green ammonia at a very globally competitive rate. Our first project is coming up in Kakinada, so the commissioning time will be end of 2026, for which we have got some European off-takers already lined up, and basically those agreements have been finalized. The second plant would be in Tuticorin. A third, another million-ton ammonia will come up in Kakinada. And recently, we have acquired some land in Kandla as a part of the auction process there. And that would be our plant in West Coast. Of course, we're also in discussions with ONGC, have been there for some time, for a joint development of a green ammonia project. Now that's on the green ammonia side. Of course, we are also going onto the green hydrogen space, and we are looking intently at the Indian refinery sector especially. So of course, I look at Mr. Banerjee when I say that, and everybody from the refining community, because I think that's one important aspect, an important area which will pave the door open for this industry to take off in India. Of course, we won the first commercial scale green hydrogen tender in Numaligarh refinery. That project is under execution and will be completed sometime, middle of next year.
And Mr. Sinha, what about the project that was coming up in Himachal, I think?
So Himachal, as of now, is on hold, and that's for a particular reason, because there was a change in law which kind of made the project a little bit difficult economically. We know there has been a change again. There's a court order, so we are looking at it, and hopefully that will get started as well. Otherwise, that was well underway when we had to stop it again.
Right. The last time I think you were here, that was on the way to completion. All right. I'll move to Mr. Mehta now. Mr. Mehta, what are some of ACME's green hydrogen projects? You already are doing a lot both in India and Oman, so maybe you can highlight some of those.
Thank you. Thank you for the detailed description about me. ACME, also one of the leading company in green hydrogen and ammonia space. So we are third largest renewable power company in India. We also set up the first one pilot scale project in India, which is at Bikaner, Rajasthan, which is a small scale project, around 5 tons per day of green ammonia. We are operating that plant since last 2 years. Basically, that plant has given us experience of integrating the 3 technologies, which is the solar PV modules, green hydrogen, and green ammonia, so that we can scale up in our large scale project. So now coming to the large scale projects, we have at this point in time 4 active projects, 2 in India, 1 is in Oman, and 1 is in US. So our Oman project is a one which is we have started way back in 2019 when there was no green hydrogen mission in our country. So that project is the first project which will deliver the green ammonia molecules, perhaps the first in the world. And for that, first phase we have signed the binding offtake agreement with the Yara Chemical and Fertilizer, perhaps the first such arm's length third-party agreement. We will be developing other 2 phases also in the Oman. So Oman, we have started construction for the phase 1. Now in India, we have 2 projects. One our active project at this point in time is in Odisha, which is 1.2 million ton per annum of green ammonia. For that project also, we'll be developing in 3 phases. Each phase we have 0.4 million ton per annum of the green ammonia. And this project, for first phase, we have signed a term sheet with the IHI Corporation of Japan. And 2 phases also will be developing subsequently. Third project, which is at the feasibility study stages in Port of Victoria in state of Texas in US. So, and the 4th project we have in India again in Tamil Nadu in Tuticorin port. So other than green ammonia, as Mr. Sinha said, we also have a keen interest into Indian market to setting up the on-site green hydrogen plant in various industries like refineries, steel, glass, chemical companies, and we are actively looking for those opportunities. We are discussing with various companies where we can participate to supply the green hydrogen.
Right. Mr. Nair, same question for you. Avaada has been, in the news for a lot of announcements in Orissa, in Uttar Pradesh, in a lot of other states as well. So can you highlight some of those recent announcements?
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for calling me for this conference. Just a brief about Avaada. We are a 13-year-old company in Indian renewable sector, one of the oldest player in the renewable sector. We have currently, under Avaada belt, earlier we had commissioned about 1.2 gigawatt of RE projects, both in solar and wind sector. After that, we transferred the company to Avaada. Under Avaada, we have 4,300 megawatt of operational capacity in solar, and we have a pipeline of more than 17,000 megawatt that is purely for the RE sector now. We are diversifying into module manufacturing to support our RE business, and we are diversifying into the green ammonia or green hydrogen sector now. As of now, we have signed MOUs with 6 states. The first one is 0.5 million ton of green ammonia project, which we are setting up in the Gopalpur port. The work is, the land is acquired, and our EPC contract is almost on the verge of finalization. The detailed engineering or the basic engineering is in progress for the Gopalpur project. We have a GO from Karnataka government for setting up 1 million tons of green ammonia project in Mangalore. That GO is received. We are still discussing with Karnataka government for other incentives and facilities and certain state support that we need from Karnataka government. We have signed MOUs with AP, Gujarat, Rajasthan, MP, and we had progressed in identifying the locations, and UP also. And so these are 5 states where we have signed MOUs, and 1 state we got GO, and 1 state we have already going ahead with the project execution. With the 5 states, we are still in discussion with the states in getting the state support agreements and the facilities and the incentives, what we are looking at from the states. So that discussions are still in progress. To support our green hydrogen project, we are also planning to set up 1 gigawatt of electrolyzer manufacturing to support our green hydrogen projects. In addition to that, we are also looking at production of green methanol or biomethanol. So that is also a parallel process which we are in discussion with different states, different off-takers. So these are the plans for us to go ahead with the green hydrogen sector.
Right. Mr. Panday, you're the only public sector company representative here. What are SJVN Green Energy's plans in the green hydrogen space?
Thank you, audience, and thank you, Indian infrastructure. Actually, at SJVN, we are still working on green hydrogen projects. We have not entered into the market, but we are looking at very seriously. Because for RE power and in solars, we have a very aggressive targets of 25,000 megawatt by 2030. So basically, as a developer, while we were studying, we had a few things in our mind, like the financial aspects, imports, restrictions, and cost. Then ROI-like things. And the transport and storage, I think it's one of the most critical costing parts on this. Government is taking all around, in all the sectors or domain of this field. But that is all educational, and the net result will come later on. Say it may take some time, say for R&D, for skilling, for making hubs, it may be effective. But there are many things which are yet to be done. And when you see it globally, like our bordering countries, China's, Germany. So they have come up with many of the things which have been developed by the country itself. So that cost part has been reduced, execution time has been reduced, and say this is a transformation of complete society and complete energy portfolio. So one individual or few individuals cannot transform and cannot have the total investments. The end product cost is very important, and the scaling of the market users, whether they are ready for retrofitting involves a lot of R&D in transport sector, shipping sector. So leaving it to the some developers or some of the agencies will be a difficult proportion, and it will be time taking. To accelerate this, I think many of the projects, we are lagging behind even in the solar for the land. So government has to come up with some formulation wherein we are ready to pay for the land, but we are not able to develop. So all the targets are failing. Likewise, in case of hydrogen as well, the government has to take up, like they have to develop the existing channel, or they have to develop the transport sector. They have to own, so that parallelly the infrastructure of production, infrastructure for transportation and storage, and the market has to be ready to absorb that much of the hydrogen. Because for the exports, you have to see the competition. There was a serious competition, I learned, between the China and Germany as well, and there was a problem due to the transportation cost. It's a huge. And the risk factor of the funding is another point of view, because up to a particular point, any investor can take risk, but beyond that, there must be sub-insurance. Import facility needs to be a single window system. The developer should go to a person. Yes, I am bringing this, and he should get approval within a time frame of 1 week.
Thank you.
You are expecting so much of the market and so much of the production. So we have to do that.
Yes.
And zero import duty kariye, zero time kariye. If you are asking anybody to develop within 2 years, 3 years, because what I learned that even the electro manufacturer, you both are knowing that everybody has asking for the more time. More time there are two things. One is the initial initiative of the project developer. So they will do everything, investment by the developer, but the other aristocracies and the government system has to work up tuned in that.
Right. Thank you. Mr. Panday will come to some of those challenges later on. Gerd, I'll move to you. Maybe you want to tell some of the developers who were not there since morning about what is it that Lili Navitas does. I think...
So, I mean, some of your companies I visited already, or we were able to visit. Thanks for that, and thanks for having me again on the stage. Lili Navitas tries to cover the full value chain from starting PV here in India and to the customer in Europe. That's it. In between it's ammonia. Some of these parts we don't do. You're better, you're faster, you have the knowledge which I lack in the meantime. So we build the bridge. We try to build the bridge. We have right now in total with our partners 1 project in South America. We have 1 in Norway, 2 in Germany. We have 1 project coming up in Vietnam. We just got offered a substantial amount of ammonia in Egypt, so that we can say in total in different contracting stages, we are right now in reach of a little bit more than 10 million tons of green ammonia worldwide. And we facilitate this through a specific channel in Europe, which is Eternal Power, a little bit of the SECI program, channel it through 1 company so that the problems will be faced several times, so you learn it, so it's easier and faster. What I really would add on you, because it's completely right, as you say, the problem of a market ramp up where is nothing. There is nothing, the politicians push it, but the companies need to pay for that. So, and this is a huge problem. The incentives are nice, but it is just, it's just an incentive. It's just an incentive. Also the land topic, I mean, in Germany, even much more extreme than in India to find the right land, and this is the right land. There's a point about that too. Customers' abilities, is the customer really able to do what he wants to do in such a big project? Because the investment costs rise pretty fast, very high, and some CEOs don't see that at the beginning of the project. So it's our job also to teach some or get some ideas through to the companies what this means. And in the end, we have this topic of regulations. We talked about this also, that we need it from both sides, and we need a stable situation, because in the end, the projects can become so big that the company can go broke on that if everything is not met as we wanted at the beginning. This is extremely important. And last but not least, not every vendor is able to deliver what they tell that they are. We had the situation in projects in the past, which at some point, we had at our premises three hydrogen refueling stations. Not because we liked that, no, because they didn't work. But we were bound to deliver. So we had, and I mean, imagine this situation. You would build 3 petrol refueling stations in one town just because the others, they break down. So it is a special situation on the market.
Right, thanks. I'll move to Mr. Mehta now. Mr. Mehta, you are probably the only one with an operational, semi-commercial, though it may be, project. So can you tell us a little bit more about that project? Like, what were your initial learnings from there, especially in terms of operations of such a green hydrogen project?
Yeah, so that's a good question. There has been many failures. Let me start with that.
Okay.
Because while these 3 technologies are in itself are old ones, like solar PV modules, generating renewable power, the electrolysis technology has been there for many years, and even the ammonia loop technology, synthesis loop technology is also there for many, many years now, for more than 150 years, I guess. But these 3 technologies putting together and integrating it, and that too when the variable power, like, from evening to morning, because electrolyzer earlier been used with the constant power supply. So to understand that and to give feedback to the electrolyzer manufacturers that, what kind of changes they have to make it in the electrolyzer such a way that it can handle the variability of the power supply, which is not very much there in case of as far as technology is concerned, and for the alkaline technology, which is this point in time is only the only mature technology. While there are technologies like PAM, etc., also, which is coming up now. But as an example, in our first project of Oman, we are going to put up the alkaline technology, because it is also to be seen that use cases of such technologies and the cost of the electrolyzers. So I can also share that 2 times we have completely the Rajasthan. We connected with the Rajasthan state grid. And it has completely off, that grid because of the increase of the voltage and power. So, such kind of learnings we have put in. We have realized that, it is very, very important that how do you integrate, and therefore it is also very crucial to understand the efficiency of each of this technology and to keep the cost of the hydrogen lower, and therefore the ammonia lowest possible.
You spoke about alkaline technology being maybe the most preferred technology for you. Is that, Mr. Sinha, the case for you as well? You also are using alkaline in your projects?
Yes, very much so. In fact, when we are talking about a 1 million ton per annum green ammonia plant, we're looking at electrolyzers to the tune of more than 1.2, 1.3 gigawatt capacity, right? Where will you find anything other than alkaline at this point of time? That's right. First, right? So only from the point of view of availability. Cost comes the second. The second question is about cost. The third is also about scalability, because alkaline electrolyzers today are at a decent size in terms of the stack size. We do have 5 megawatt stack size for alkaline. You don't have the same for any other type of electrolyzer, though I'm sure that all of those will evolve over the next 8 to 10 years. But I think at least for this decade, when we are looking at using an electrolyzer system, it's predominantly going to have to be alkaline, especially for those large mega plants. Now, if it comes to much smaller applications, such as for mobility, the picture can be very different. Right? Also, if there is a large-scale power fluctuation, because you are only dependent on, let's say, solar or wind, in that case, maybe alkaline is not the right choice, unless you do have a steadying mechanism, for example, a pumped hydro or a battery, for that matter, which will not only act as a storage but also as some sort of a power regulator, right? So yes, use cases may be different, but today, based on what we are doing, where we are heading into, alkaline pretty much is the call of the day.
Right. Mrs. Sinha, the next round of question also starts with you. So as I understand, most of you are catering to both the export market as well as the domestic markets, right? So what has been the general experience of developers like yourself in terms of getting those offtake agreements?
Yes, very different in both. I mean, domestic versus international. Why would somebody, and I think that's a question that has repeatedly occurred in the previous sessions as well, this is regarding the cost of green hydrogen, who will pay for the difference of cost between green and grey. Now, I just want to address that question because I know that lingers on. And when we are talking about green hydrogen, nobody uses green hydrogen or hydrogen as a product. Hydrogen is not the final product that anybody uses, unless it is in a refinery sector, where again, that's not the final product that comes out of a refinery. It's only used as a midstream into a refinery process. So the final product is something that we use as consumers use. There, the cost between grey and green to the final consumer is almost negligible in 90% of the products. So that's something that we need to keep in mind, right, when we talk about the difference between grey and green. Now, still, it's difficult in a country like India to just go from one system to another. What will help, and what has helped Europe, for example, that's regulation, a mandate. When European Parliament passed that act saying that 40%, 42.5% of the industries will have to convert from grey to green hydrogen by 2030, when they take up something like Fit for 55 package, it helps. It opens up the market, and then, I mean, it's there, right? So they have, the market is created by such a legislation or such a regulation. Then those users will look at projects which are credible, look at projects which can come online in time, and the ones that can provide them with that product at the right cost. I think when it comes to those three parameters, the credibility of the project coming, the project coming online on time, and providing it at a good cost, India will definitely have a lot of advantage over any other country in the world.
Right.
But for domestic consumption to happen, such a legislation is probably required. And that's why we have been pushing the government as well to make that mandate in the country. Now, one challenge that we are facing when selling internationally, and that's a question that comes up often, is when India requires so much energy, why is India even allowing, or will India allow energy export to other countries? And that's where a mandate in India will also help, because then that uncertainty goes away.
Right.
We are producing in India, for India, and for the rest of the world.
Right, understood. Mr. Mehta, do you want to add something to that? Or I have another similar question for you.
Any country or any such project, we have seen in the renewable power that the cost of the power was in 2014-15. Mr. Nair can throw some more light on that, but the cost of power is very high, as high as 15 rupees, and today, at least, solar power has gone to 2.5 rupees, and hybrid probably 3.5 rupees or something like that. So that has came because of the RPO, right, which is the mandate given by the government of India. So similar mandate is required definitely in all geographies. It works two ways, right? It always promote sponsors or developer to set up large-scale projects, and with the economy of scale, the cost of the product comes down. I don't think so anybody will have any doubt on the producer of the green hydrogen or ammonia that the day in very near future that cost of the green hydrogen will also match with the cost of the grey hydrogen or a grey ammonia. Of course, one has to keep in mind that the carbon intensity of both this product and what is cost for. Like in Europe, there is a very mature market for the carbon market. So something like that needs to be put in either mandate, or has to be some kind of a tax or a carbon tax, as you may call, has to be put it in the country like India to at least grow, because it is very important that there are countries in Far East also asking that what is the guarantee that even if they sign an offtake agreement with us, what is the guarantee that the government of India will allow to export such product in the future? So some point in time, it might happen that government also needs to step in and to give such kind of assurance to those countries, because it is very clearly said, and we all understand that government of India want to make green hydrogen as one of the export hub, and they do not want to, as far as the energy security, not only for the country's energy security, but also to create this as one of the nation who can export energies to the other countries, because we are blessed with the natural resources like solar and wind, and at the same time we have a grid which no country has. One grid we can generate power at one of the best states like Gujarat and Rajasthan, and we can take it anywhere in the country to generate the green hydrogen. But as far as the long-term offtake agreement is concerned, yes, it's going to be one of the biggest challenge for all of us who are in the production or the developer side, because it is ammonia, until now it was always a chemical. It was never been seen as a fuel. Even today it's not a fuel, it's a carrier for the hydrogen. While the technology is being developed to use that as a fuel. But at the same time, why would someone, like any customer would sign a 25, 30 years of contract when it has been very clearly said that, and people are talking about it, technology development will happen, cost of the green hydrogen and ammonia will come down. So people are saying, why not to wait, right? And let the price come down and I'll sign the long-term contract. But at the same time, you cannot get a fund from the financial institutions unless you have a long-term offtake agreement. So it's like a famous chicken and egg story. And financial institutes are very clear. For them, it's another project. So they don't give any kind of discount because it's a green or probably green ammonia project. So it is a big challenge. Of course, I'm not saying that developing project is not a easy thing, but it's also a challenge. But at the same time, signing an offtake agreement is, in my mind, it's a very large, very big challenge at this point in time.
Right.
Unless there is a mandate.
Right. Mr. Nair, what has been your company's initial experience in getting these offtake agreements in India or some for export?
See, I agree with our fellow panelists that offtake agreement is certainly the most important factor for bringing the capacity in India. Because anybody who is going to invest their money into this sector would certainly need an offtake agreement, because the funding and financing would certainly depend upon the offtake agreements. So when we look at, there is a big difference in the pricing of green ammonia produced in India versus blue hydrogen or blue ammonia versus the gray one. So fundamentally, we need to look at how do we bridge the gap, and the off-takers are always looking at how the prices are going to be comparable. And the more important aspect is on the duration of the contract. We have seen the way the renewable energy market has grown in India, where we started, like Mr. Mehta said, we started with 17 rupees and went even below 2 rupees price also. So there is no guarantee that the price, if something is going to cost you $8 today, and when we are all talking about $1 is going to be the future price, why should somebody commit a price for next 25 years? That is going to be the key aspect. So ultimately, it's an emerging market, so we need to look at how do we have the correct financing tools to support the price fluctuation as of today versus maybe after 5 years, what is going to be the price? Are you going to, if you are going to sign a long-term agreement, which probably nobody is ready to sign a long-term agreement, even if you are signing for even a 5 years, 10 years agreement, but what is the guarantee that the prices are going to remain at that level? Why not you, after maybe 5 years, you will get it at $3. Maybe after 10 years, you may get it at $1 also. So that is basically, the pricing is going to be the key factor in this case. And even if you look at the cost of production, the renewable energy is roughly about, say, 50% of the project cost in terms of capital cost, and the OPEX also, it comes about 50%. The renewable energy cost, we are all signing a firm price for next 25 years. So that is not going to vary. So nothing, once you have incurred the capital cost, nothing is going to control your final production cost or final selling cost. So that is going to be very critical. That is where the offtake agreements are going to be getting stagnant or the discussions are getting stuck up there. And if you look at the quality of the hydrogen also, Europe is predominantly looking at the green because of their commitment to the green hydrogen or green energy. If you look at the key markets are, one is the US, one is the Europe, and the third is the South Asian markets like Korea or Japan. So these are the three major customers available in the world today. Europe is certainly looking at green products. They already brought in CBAM. So that is certainly a good market where commitment is there from the European markets. But the moment you look at US or look at South Asia, they are leaning more towards of blue, and they are also looking at what is the price at which they are getting. So once it is blue, India is not there in the market for the blue products, and US also is going to be leaning more towards blue. And everything may change when Trump comes back. There is a big fear factor that if Trump comes, maybe their entire commitment on the green energy may go. And US has got huge fossil products available in the country. So everything depends upon the next election and who is going to win. So all political decisions may also factor in. So these are the major factors that is affecting the offtake agreements with the export market. What we need to look at is that how do we produce a market for the domestic products? That is something probably the government has to come up with certain policies where we make a market for these green products within India. If you look at 10 years back or maybe 2010 when we brought the Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission, the prices were at 17 rupees. So we brought in the first product was that there was a obligation, RPO obligation was put on all the off-takers. We started with 0.25%, which slightly got increased when, or gradually got increased when the prices came down. And today, the solar energy cost is maybe 1/3 of the conventional fossil fuel power cost also, and wind is also even maybe half of that cost. So when you have economy of scale and the correct policies, you don't need even a government support. Government support came with an obligation on all the entities, but now you don't need that. So that is something which the government also need to look at. How do they give the support in terms of financial support to bridge the gap in the prices between the grey hydrogen and the green hydrogen? And that is something that we are all looking at. We talk in the ministry also that how do you bring in the green hydrogen obligation on all the consumers, all the entities, like 5 sectors we have identified. One is the oil sector, ammonia sector, transport sector, the metal sector like steel and city gas distribution. So these are the 5 sectors who are the large consumers of hydrogen today. So if we can bring in an obligation on these entities, that will certainly create domestic market for the green hydrogen or green ammonia. That is something which we need to look at. And we also had a lot of discussions with the fertilizer companies or the steel companies, and when the bids came, there were also discussions that if they pay it as a incentive for bridging the gap between the import of ammonia, like at what price they are importing today and what price we can sell it. So there were a lot of bidding mechanism was tried out. So we need to look at that, come with innovative products by Government of India to support and bridge the gap in the prices between green and grey. That is something which we need to look at.
Right. So as I understand, 2 very clear points. I think everyone is in for obligations on certain industries to create domestic demand. And Mr. Nair, you brought out a very interesting point regarding how different countries have different definitions or standards that they're considering. Like someone is also considering blue, someone is considering nuclear as pink. So I'll come to you, Gerd, first, and then I'll come to you, Mr. Panday. In terms of standards, and you coming from a German market, so how do these different exporters of green hydrogen, like you'll have Middle East exporting, you'll have India exporting, how do these different colors and different standards play in this import-export of hydrogen in Western Europe?
So to get around a lot of regulations, the easiest way is to have a direct linkage, electrolyzer, PV, power plant and all that. So you don't need to go through the national grids. So this makes it somewhat easy. there. We have this banking topic, especially in India, which I love. It is a great piece of regulations, I really have to say, monthly banking or weekly banking. So in the end, there's a lot of lawyers, which I am not. Absolutely, I'm not a lawyer. It is a lot of regulations. It is a lot of sensors everywhere in your plant to track where which electron went, which we can't physically. This is also very important. It is impossible. And the easiest way is direct linkage between all parts of the project. This makes it the easiest way. And yeah, if this would be an easy answer. This is how we try to force also all the project in Chile, for example. Direct linkage of all the components. If you have too much electricity, then you can go into the grid. Of course, sell it, but don't take it out of the grid if not necessary. So right now, with the RED 2 in Europe, Germany, there are more regulations in Europe, Germany, as also in India to come in the next months. And it's a little bit off with our partners on projects which are direct linked always. We have a landing point in 1 year, we have a landing point in 2 years and in 3 years, where we work together on one project to make it happen. So it's still a go-to market, so everybody needs to work on that.
Right. Mr. Sinha, in all the offtake agreements that you've signed, like you said, in Europe, so has standards or these different definitions been a pain point in getting those agreements off the ground?
No, well, it can be. If you don't have that clarity of what is required. See, when we are producing a product, you have to also identify the market, right? So when you know that you're producing something for a European market, you also have to be cognizant of the fact that that product needs to meet the regulations in that market. Now, in order for that to meet the regulations in that market, the product has to be designed in such a way that a certificating body from Europe, let's say, can come here, certify the product, and say, yes, it meets the regulations. So that's the approach that we have taken, and that has worked, right? So they're very clear, the European off-takers are very clear that it needs to meet the CBAM regulations, which is basically the RED 2, RED 3 norms. RFNBO, the hydrogen needs to be RFNBO hydrogen, renewable fuel of non-biological origin, which means that the emission level, and there comes a key difference between the Indian standard and the European standard. So the Indian standard says that your hydrogen will be called green if the carbon emissions carbon that's emitted while producing it is less than 2 kgs of CO2 per kg of hydrogen, but that's limited to the production gate of hydrogen. Now in Europe, it's no longer the case. That gate is actually well till grave, right? And what they're saying is that during this entire life cycle, the emissions will have to be more than 70%. You have to reduce your emissions by more than 70% as compared to the conventional fossil fuel. There are only a few certificating agencies and a few certification programs which actually understands the whole process. Now you'll have to get hold of one of them to certify your architecture, and then when your plant is ready or commissioned, you have to have them certify your entire process. Right. So that's the approach that we have taken, successful so far, and I would suggest the same for everyone. If there is a better idea, of course, I'd be interested to know. Yeah.
Moving to some challenges now. Mr. Mehta, you're setting up projects in Oman as well as US. So how does India compare with Oman, US, Kazakhstan or Saudi Arabia in terms of becoming a net green hydrogen exporter globally? In terms of its policies, incentives, or whatever we're getting offered here.
Government of India has done a fantastic job in this area. I must say that project of any of the state which we all are planning are actually enjoying three things in my mind. One is certainly incentives given by the central government in Mr. Sinha has said with the site program. Number two, various states are providing the incentives in terms of the capital subsidy, etc., some kind of subsidy on the cost of power. And the third very important thing which we have is the transmission or wheeling charges on the transmission on the ISTS network, which is 25 years there is no charge, only the losses has to be paid. So In our view, and I'm sure my industry colleague will also agree that the molecule produced in India, this point in time, is very, very competitive compared to many other countries, including US, whereas US is giving $3 per kilo under IRA as a tax benefit, but seeing it that the cost of production itself is very high. Because seeing this kind of incentives, I believe that vendors or suppliers have increased their price to a level where it's equally competitive like what we can produce in India. Like we have a project in Oman, we have a project in US, and we have a project in Odisha. I can tell you that why we have these 3 projects, primarily because, to reduce the cost of shipping, from India we can supply to Far East market, and from Oman we can supply to Europe. So that's the only reason, and our more focus is certainly India. We already have 2 projects in India, and we have signed another 2 MOUs, one is with the Gujarat, one with the Karnataka. So, and we are also setting up module manufacturing and electrolyzer manufacturing facility in our country, in India. So, answering to your question, yes, India is very, very competitive, but at the same time is a word of caution that this needs to be always, keep it in mind that many other countries like Oman or Australia or Chile or US also has the equal potential. So it shouldn't happen that after this kind of project has been announced and development has started, such incentives should come, and it should continue till the time that cost of hydrogen or ammonia reach to a level where it is a competitive vis-a-vis the grey ammonia or hydrogen.
Right. Yeah. Mr. Nair, coming to the question of supply chain, electrolyzer supply chain is definitely a key issue. Added to that, the supply chain disruptions that we're seeing in, solar cells, solar modules, even wind turbines. How does all of that factor into the green hydrogen value chain?
See, if you talk about the supply chain, there are 2 major inputs that goes into production of hydrogen. One is the green energy, and second is the equipment part. I don't think equipment is a major constraint today, because you have got your neighbor which is sitting on abundant quantity of anything that you want. So there is no scarcity of getting equipment. And we talked about the type of electrolyzer what you want to use, whether you want to go for alkaline or all technology is available. And I just want to make a comment on some of the fellow panelists' comments on why do you want to go for alkaline or PEM, because ultimately the power fluctuation is not happening in India because you are anyway connected to the grid. So as far as the supply chain is concerned, I am okay with anybody who help me to make the cheaper output. Right. Of course, as a policy, we are going with all kind of technology. So we don't want to limit ourselves only to the cheapest technology. But if you look at from a commercial angle, I would look at what is giving me the cheapest and the firm and reliable hydrogen, that I will go for that. So as far as the product is concerned, I don't think there is any major concern on that. The second major raw material that goes into production of green hydrogen is my power today. So for getting me power, the government of India has a target to go for 500 gigawatt by 2030. Or there are a lot of bids coming in, but the biggest constraint is going to be how do you set up all these projects, and each million ton of say ammonia or 0.2 million tons of green hydrogen, it requires roughly about 4.5 to 5 gigawatt of green energy projects that is required. So if we are targeting say 5 million tons of green hydrogen, that roughly requires about 125 gigawatt of green energy products. So how are these capacity going to come up on the grid? And each of these requires a connectivity to the central transmission system as well as to the state transmission system, as well as there should be a storage system, whether it is coming from either battery or coming from the pumped hydro. So it's a combination of projects which are connected to the central grid, which doesn't have any banking, because banking is certainly going to be a very key factor in making sure that we have got 24/7 green energy available. So without banking, it is not possible to set up these projects. Or we need to have this, I mean, of course, we need to have the battery or green hydrogen battery or the hydro projects connected to it. So these are the critical factors. But when it comes to state grid, if you are going to allow use the banking is provided by the state grids, and you need to have almost 50% of your power getting connected to the state grids. But if you get deeper into it, none of the states are offering the state evacuation system to support these projects. So that is the biggest challenge that we are facing in all the states. When the hydrogen policy or mission was published about 2 years back, there was a big excitement among all RE players, and everybody went and declared that we are going to produce this much capacity. But after 1 year, there was a meeting by minister. I made the same statement that 1 year back we had a big excitement. Everyone wanted to set up, but today we are seeing that excitement is gone. He asked why. So I said that states are not really supporting this initiative, because the first question what the state is asking is that what are we gaining? What are we getting out of it? Because most of these projects are planning for export. When it is an export-oriented unit, the states are not really getting any benefit. Whereas all the developers like us, we are all going to the state and asking that you give us 40% capital subsidy, or you give us 50% capital subsidy, you give us the evacuation system, you give us the transmission free. And we are asking all sorts of incentives from the state government, which the states are saying that what benefit are we getting? So this is one of the major challenges that we are facing, and we don't get that kind of support. And for the biggest challenge is that how do we get the evacuation system done in the state? Because without the state projects, it is almost impossible to set these projects. And the states are saying that if you want, say, 1 million ton would require roughly about, say, 2 gigawatt of wind and solar projects to be set up in a state. And where is the evacuation in a state? And they don't have any evacuation. So these are going to be the biggest bottleneck. So in terms of supply chain, in terms of the enabling facilities, the biggest bottleneck, what I am finding is that how do you get the renewable energy for supporting the production of green hydrogen?
Right. Mr. Panday, we've spoken about a lot of challenges. We've spoken about land, transmission, offtake, cost. Do you think water availability is a challenge for green hydrogen projects of this size? Is that a concern in this entire ecosystem?
If you analyze the requirement of the water to the scale of hydrogen production, yes, there is to be a challenge. And for the time being, seawater is not considered economical to produce hydrogen. I think 35 liter for 1 kg hydrogen may be required, whereas 20 liter is required for normal water. And when you talk about the seawater, then also carrying seawater to the consumption point, it is costlier, or taking hydrogen from sea point to the consumption point is costlier. That has to be seen. The message is ease out. Ease out. What is ease out? There are many fronts, as our panelists are telling about India. And wherever this progress has, the economic hydrogen has come up, everywhere the government has taken up all the responsibilities, wherever the things are blocked. So basically, we have to see the use of hydrogen beyond your energy requirement as well. So that if you are producing hydrogen is one point. If you don't consider money or cost of the hydrogen, I think it is not impossible, because all our pioneer companies are sitting besides me. But the cost is coming there. So if you increase the volume of the requirement, volume of the consumption, the cost will become a bit low. So you have to think of, okay, what are the other implications of hydrogen? Then one source of hydrogen is yet to be explored, that is white hydrogen or the natural hydrogen. And for immediate creation of the market, one idea is to use the blending of hydrogen, which will not require massive change of the technology in the equipments to be used or for the equipments in the retrofitting. If you look through the global scenario, almost every part from scooter to aviation, the hydrogen powered equipments have developed. They are not able to come to the market only due to the cost considerations. And one of the speakers told rightly about the maintenance part. Skill manpower is different, but the parts which are to be imported, you are not having good relations with your bordering countries, then the equipment comes out of the rotation from the other countries to third-party countries. Recently in the power sector, there was a huge problem due to unavailability of the semiconductor devices, relays and others. The second part of the power sector, I totally agree with the Mr. Nair, that availability of RE power. 125 gigawatt is well planned. That is not a big issue, sir. But 24:7, 125 gigawatt is a very plan, and who will bear that cost of the storage?
Right.
Again, see, either the nation, the extra cost, the cost between the economic hydrogen and the cost of production and reaching to the consumers, who will absorb? If you load on the hydrogen, I have got every doubt with my 40 years of experience that will be blocked, the progress will be blocked somewhere. If you want to do it, the number one is ease out the problems of the developers. Second, accelerate. If you don't accelerate, somebody else will come with some other things and then you'll be behind. Okay, there is a race globally. If you go through the internet kind of things, we are not producing, like I was just tracking the news based upon the green hydrogen. So I think every country is very aggressively. Oman is what country? It is not even a state. But they are asking the people to come. They are spending money, they are giving all supports. Why can't we give supports? So 125 gigawatt or 80 gigawatt even today, to be provided as a renewable energy, and that too, if I am a developer, tell give me free energy.
Right.
Subsidize why you are loading it? Because we are trying to meet our national target. We are not meeting our personal profit target. And in due course of time, let's say solar, it has become self-dependent. So that is one point. Many actions have come up already by the government. So I don't think then state participation is also does not appear to be very comprehensive. Because the state regulation, because I had been an official for 40 years, more than 42, around 42 years in central government as well as state government. When you go to the states, every state is a country in itself. Every authority is in a country. That is why I requested, make it single window system. A man will go there, it is the responsibility, it has to be disposed of in a time bound. It's not possible. RE power for 24/7, 24:7, without participation of the state is impossible. Because networks are through the state utility.
Right.
So that is a very, very, very serious point Mr. Nair has spoken.
Right.
A lot of things can be said,
Right,
but I
sir.
think you are time is less.
Yeah. For Gerd, I'll come to you for the last question before we go to some audience questions. What lessons do you think Western European countries can take from India in creating a green hydrogen market?
That's a very nice question, very diplomatic.
I was thinking of asking you what lessons can India take, but then I thought
No, please,
then I thought I'll ask the other way around.
Even though I just heard that the banking topic is changing a little bit, this is a topic which is still great. Not 15-minute shares, which is in Europe. Just make it an hour. That's already a huge difference. That would make a huge difference. I'm still quite envious about your grid. Really, I really have to say, Germany slept, Europe slept on that regard. We once built our infrastructure, and then, yeah, and now it's now. It's a little bit like that. So there's a lack of investments. And this is really, from my point of view, one of the key aspects in India. your extremely good grid situation, especially in a 700 and 1,200 kV grids. It is magnificent. You're still able to push the energy in it. Plus, like in Germany, you have the problem of, in the north, we produce all the renewable energy. In the south, we have all the industrial sectors. So that doesn't work at all. So in India, it's a little bit different. From my perspective, what I learned, you have a lot more points in the country to get rid of excess energy, for example, so that you are much easier able to balance your grid, for example. So there, yeah, you see, it's a lot of grid levels, but also regulations. It seems to be faster. It seems to be with more mood in Germany. Yeah, daring, thanks for my translator. More daring, and this is what you need to do right now. We see how the Chinese are progressing. We saw the first prices of ammonia, which is slowly going through the market of ammonia out of China. And yeah, you need to be like the Indian situation of going forward, otherwise it's simply too late. If we have partners at home, we told them, they wanted to come in October to India, we told them, no, it's too late. We're talking about months where really a lot of things happen, so now they come in late June. And this, offtake and the speed you have in your country is just amazing. I really have to say, it is amazing.
Thank you. We'll take a few comments or questions from the audience, but I'll have to request the delegates to please keep them very, very short. Yes, move the last row in the middle column, please, very quickly. You can just ask one question, sir, and to just one panelist.
Well, that's quite a difficult task to ask one question, to such a panel. So my question would be regarding three topics, right? So one is the standardization of definitions. Another one is, which no one has mentioned about, is the cargo size. So when you're going to export, what would be the cargo size? And then third would be the carbon tax, right? So first is, when I talked to a US producer, so he said that it would have been easy if at least Japan and Korea would have a single kind of definition for hydrogen and ammonia, right? So what kind of problems do you face when you will be supplying to both Asian and European markets? Europe has a slightly stricter regulations while Asia asks for a lower price, right? They're not much more concerned about the green, how much green your product is, right? And second would be, would it make things easier if there had been more larger ships available, right? Because there are only MGCs and LGCs currently, and VLGCs are being constructed right now, right? They are in the order. And the third would be, even after support schemes, there's still a gap if you're substituting hydrogen with fossil fuels or fossil fuels with hydrogen, right? So would you need something like a CBAM on a global basis?
All right. I think they've discussed enough about definitions and standards. Yeah. Maybe we can straight away jump to the second question. Who would like to take up? Okay, great.
So as far as the size of vessel is concerned, that, I'll take an example from the LNG industry that, it starts with the smaller size of vessel and then it goes up, like, in LNG now it's a Qmax and Qflex is also available. But at this point in time, whenever you put, when you export ammonia, one has to also put a storage tank to load into the vessel. So as we see that, as this point in time, the very large size vessel may not be as prevalent, at least for next 5 to 7 years. But I believe when it comes to developing infrastructure at port, it should be able to take such size of the vessel, because it cannot be redo. One can put another storage tank going forward, but if the port cannot handle such a large size of vessel, then it could be a challenge. And even the customers, global customers, what they are looking for signing an agreement for the ammonia, that's also not very large size, to say that, So keeping that also in mind, that even the medium-sized vessel, which can take around 20,000 to 25,000 ton of ammonia should suffice the need at this point in time.
Right. The third question was regarding global CBAM.
So as I said, certainly to bridge the gap between gray and green, be it hydrogen and ammonia, there are only two ways. One, either governments provides that gap by whichever way, like Japan says the CFD scheme, and in Germany that Greenko has came out with a tender in which they are going to invite the tender from the suppliers and also from the consumers in the Europe, and they will bridge the gap. So this is one of the way. Other definitely way to put the carbon tax like CBAM, which I talked about. So second one is the one which will probably become prevalent going forward.
Right. Maybe time for just two short questions or comments. Can you please get the mic to the last row?
Hi, good evening. Myself, Captain Sinha. Quite often, or rather in most of the times, we hear that what are we looking or what do we seek from the government in terms of incentive or in terms of the roadmap that the government is going to put forward. What I would, my plea would be that why doesn't the government put forward conducive regulations and let the industry take it forward? Ultimately, at the end of the day, the role play will be of the industry. It will be between the industry and the consumers, a direct deal. What consumer prefers to consume and what the industry is going to offer and at what price. So when will that transition happen? When will stop begging to the government that give us incentives, and when the government will start the regulations conducive enough for the industry to define their own rules?
So, sir, that was a comment from your end?
No, that's the question. Are we actually pushing the government for that, or are we still begging to the government for some kind of incentives?
Right. Mr. Sinha and then Mr. Nair.
Yeah. No, thank you, sir, for the question. No, you're absolutely right. Incentives can only take us so far. Incentives are required to get us off the ground. And I think, and I echo with Hiren when he said, the government of India has provided quite a bit of incentives, actually. And they've done a fantastic work. First of all, and we heard Mr. Sinha earlier, the incentive schemes that have come up for electrolyzer manufacturing, for green hydrogen manufacturing, right? That's on the supply side. What we also tend to forget is the ISTS waiver for green hydrogen. Now, when we talk about US incentives under IRA, $3, mind you, $3 per kg incentive is almost impossible to achieve. Because and if you do, then equivalent cost, again, that's what Hiren had mentioned, equivalent cost will add up another $3, so you are really in square one. In India, through the ISTS waiver, you are actually getting almost 60 cents of a dollar in terms of incentive. And that's possible because of the infrastructure that's already created in the country. That's a huge advantage that we don't often talk about. Now, through the green ammonia aggregate tender, they're also saying that, yeah, we are bringing the marketplace to you, and we are incentivizing, and we are creating that link between the buyer and the seller. Really, the only two things, if at all, that I would request from our government is, one, to put some sort of a mandate across industries. They don't have to be in the same measure. They can be different percentages for different industries, but some mandate. That's one. And secondly, we want to have a clarity on the whole, and we had touched upon this subject earlier, the question that still hangs around, that will India ever ban an export? I think the government, if they can come up in a clear and definitive way that, look, this is what we are looking at, export of energy is what we are looking at to reduce our import deficit. And that's true, we know that, but there has not been an officially clear enough communication in that regard. That will be my request if that could happen. But I completely agree. We can't rely on incentives forever.
Mr. Nair, you wanted to add?
I fully agree with Mr. Sinha on the points that he has raised. Primarily, see, the net zero is a global commitment that the entire world is committing to net zero. India has also committed for 2070. Of course, I would expect that they would reach it by 2050. But once there is a global commitment, every country has to achieve that target, and India is also doing whatever it can do to achieve that target. There is a cost to achieving that targets. That is what the incentives that the industry is looking for, the consumers are looking for. So without incentives, like I said earlier, that we have seen the evolution of the solar prices in the country. Only with certain incentives, even though it was small incentives that was given to the industry has picked up. Once the price difference is met, the industry could stand on its own. So that is what exactly we are looking in this case also. You need to support with certain level of incentives to create awareness and commitment of the industry as well as the consumers. Today, if you look at most of the steel industries are already setting up green hydrogen projects or renewable energy projects because they are exporting their products, and because of the regulations in other countries, they are committed to meeting that standard. So that is something which voluntarily the industry is doing because most of them are export oriented. But even for domestic market, unless we support the industry with the incentives, this is not going to stand on its own. Once the industry matures, the price levels are becoming more competitive. Certainly industry can stand on its own and it may not look for incentives and the support from the government.
Right. Thank you so much. And on that note, we'll close. Okay, last question. Last one, please. All right. Can you get the mic to the first row? There's one in the back. You
raised their hand earlier also.
okay. You can ask, and then we'll go to the last question at the back.
I just
and
have a
close it.
simple one. Three of you as the CEOs running the company, what is the major fact in making decision to make $5 billion, 1 million ton ammonia, green ammonia? Because for me and him, when we talk to our off-takers behind us, they're asking, we want to make sure that guarantee that they will deliver. And you are making a big investment for 30 years or whatever it may be. So what is the major decision factor? Is it the market you see? Or is it you say, do I have an ammonia off-taker? What it makes it big? And then financial terms comes in and controlling people. That's what we always like to think about. How does you guys think about when you make a decision to make a 1 million ton plant in Oman, here, there? There are so many plants being made. That's a big decision and big money involved. So that will be, for me, what makes you not sleep in the night when you make a decision?
Maybe you can take up that question.
Very good question. I'm just thinking, to word it right, we need to ask ourselves, do we have any option? Do we have any option to replace fossil fuels? No. The option is green hydrogen ammonia. If we all agree to this point, then it's a conviction of the individual promoter or the management or board that this particular product or a sector is going to grow, which can be also seen from various political leadership taking a call, committing for the net zero. Various countries has put their own target, but at the same time, in the same countries, many companies have taken a more stretched target to be a net zero. And we see when we move around the world, there has been a good response. There are challenges. There are challenges related to the long-term offtake agreement. There are challenges related to the interest rate. There are challenges related to technologies. But at the same time, most of the countries and most of the companies who are in the sector are very well convinced that there is no other option other than the hydrogen and ammonia. Hope that answers your questions.
Right.
Maybe I can just...
Yes, please.
I can just add on to the question that how do you take a decision to go for 1 million ton? I would go back again on the history of the renewable energy. We all started, when we started the solar projects, we all started with 5 megawatt projects. So we were the first company to started thinking big. We thought that if you really want to take the capacity to the larger capacities, like when we started the solar mission, we had 20,000 megawatt to be achieved by 2022, which was scaled up subsequently to 100,000 megawatt by 2022. But when we started, everyone was doing 5 megawatt project. We were the first company to do a 50 megawatt project at single location. In 2013, we commissioned Asia's world's second largest project of 100 megawatt at 151 megawatt at single location, when everyone was doing 5 megawatt or 10 megawatt projects. So you have to look at what is the future available for the country. If you go for big scale, naturally everything else will follow. We did world's largest project of 1200 megawatt at single location in Bikaner in Rajasthan. That's again, we started thinking that, okay, you need to start developing larger projects, everything else, all the infrastructure will follow you. And that is what everybody is thinking, that if you want to have an economy of scale, if you want the prices to be more competitive, the manufacturers will also start thinking that, okay, everybody is, like he said, India is developing larger projects. Can we really support that or not? India is a big country. It has got all infrastructure. So certainly the government support, the policies, everything will support for larger projects. So, and everyone look at the finances. They will certainly look at, when supporting that project, they will certainly look at if you have an offtake agreements, what is your background, can you really set up large projects or not? So your capability, everything will be assessed. But as a developer, when we look at the projects, we always look at big scale projects to give you competitive pricing, and that will be more economical to have the most competitive end product also.
Right. Mr. Sinha, one short comment from you, and then we'll close this question.
Sure. Thank you. You know, I'm not a CEO, but you know what keeps me awake, and I'm sure that's the same thing that keeps my CEO awake. It's not whether my product will sell. You know what keeps us awake? That I don't have a product today. The market is there. Build it, they will come.
Yeah, right. Okay. One last question, and then we're going to have to end this discussion. So you can take that question offline, I'm afraid.
Yes. So what specific gaps in the green hydrogen value chain present opportunity to startup or any new company who want to enter into the green hydrogen ecosystem?
A gap that can be an opportunity for a startup to enter the green hydrogen ecosystem. Is there any such gap that can present an opportunity to a startup?
See, as far as the production of ammonia is concerned, it is an industry that is already available for maybe 100 years, whatever technology is available. The other part is on the production of electrolyzers or producing, that technology is also available. The third part is on the renewable sector. This is an established business. In any of the manufacturing of these products which are used in these sectors, startups are always welcome. There are a lot of products which are used in the renewable industry. There are a lot of MSMEs are supplying products, whether it is transformers, whether it is cable or all those things. MSMEs are already there, and anybody who is interested in doing that, you call it as a startup, there is always a scope. The market is too huge for anyone to invest their money and do these projects. But in the new generation, when people talk about startup, that's more of IT startups. I don't know whether that kind of startups, if that is in your mind, I'm not too sure whether that space is available or not. But otherwise, this is an established business. Lot of opportunities for the manufacturers to start as a startup business into that.
Right. Thank you. On that note, we're going to close this session. A very, very, very big hand for all our panelists, Mr. Sinha, Mr. Mehta, Mr. Nair, Mr. Panday, and Gerd. A big hand for them. And I wish we had more time, because I'm sure all of you had many more points, but unfortunately, we're already 20 minutes ahead of what we had planned. With this, we come to the